Well, over the years I've made a number of videos to do with Doreen Virtue, a former New Ager. When I was making videos about her, primarily she was a New Ager, but she converted to Christianity. Now she has flip-flopped about that considerably. She claimed it was revelation, that she literally saw Jesus. Jesus was literally there and basically convinced her to join a Christian sect, which, by the way, she was already pretty much part of. Her friends were part of, her community was part of, certain people around her, and I believe her partner, I'm not sure if they were married at the time, but in any case, yeah, she was effectively already a Christian, and conveniently, for the sake of explaining to New Agers, her fans at the time who were buying her products, she basically had a moment, like a revelation on the road to Damascus moment. And then her sect says, well, it doesn't really work like that. That's extreme case. It's not the average person. You're not a prophet. You're not St. Paul. And as a result, you probably didn't have that actually happen. So she changed her tune, and in various podcasts with different Christian sects, she's changed her tune too a number of times, rephrased it, and then said, actually, it wasn't really Jesus, but I think it was like push I needed, or was it even any form of awakening, or whatever you wish to call it? Was it her being saved? And she's changed that too. Was she even saved at that point? Was she saved when she got baptized? And so on and so forth. There are so many discrepancies that have happened over the last few years. Now, some of my old content spoke about some things at the time. So at the time of me making videos, say 8 years ago, 6 years ago, 4 years ago, and maybe a couple of years ago, maybe last year too, when I've made various videos on various channels, information that has been expressed has been factually correct for the time. Maybe a little bit out of date by a couple of months, because I'm not exactly cutting edge. I don't follow Doreen Virtue. I have very little interest in her. But as far as following individuals, cult leaders and scammers, occasionally her name came up, and so I'd make an occasional video to do with Doreen Virtue and mention some of the things to do with some of her New Age practices and later Christian practices, and how she seemed to be effectively a scammer and a flip-flopper, and obviously information in that context in terms of the time bracket, the particular time when I made the video, obviously has to be taken into account. A video made 8 years ago is going to be inaccurate compared to 2021 and obviously 2022 and any time in the future for that matter, because the information was fresh back then. It was news back in the day, and now it is old news, or just simply old. It is vintage information, and obviously it's not worth taking down those videos because they were accurate at the time, and it creates a broader story. And the reason why I've made numerous videos is to have a more updated view as time moves on. As new facts arise about Doreen Virtue, her practices and supposed connections to this or that, or what she claims to be her version of Christianity now, well, it comes in dribs and drabs. I have some people who contact me, and some people who send me links and send me articles, and send me even articles from Doreen Virtue, those that she's written herself, and some of them are quite interesting, but very often they don't hold enough information for me to really focus any kind of interest or make a video directly about them. It would be probably a waste of my time and potentially a waste of your time too, although many people, especially those people in the anti-cult community, are certainly concerned about some of her activities, past and present, and presumably for the future. So occasionally it's worth mentioning some issues with Doreen Virtue, although to be entirely honest, I have largely lost interest in her as an individual, and she's far less of a cult leader now, being a Christian, than she was when she was a New Ager. Now she's kind of more of a Christian influencer, but she still produces a great deal, she still makes sales, and she still has this kind of quasi-Christian view. So her view on Christianity has shifted, and some of her books aren't exactly set to the view of her sect. So in other words, there is some editing and alteration going on in terms of some of her products. Her fan confusion is inevitable, because her fans have been with her for different reasons at different times and brought different things from her, or perhaps simply enjoyed her content, things they've seen of her on YouTube channels or perhaps on her personal websites. And yeah, they're bound to be confused, because some basically saw her convert from New Age to kind of New Age Christianity in effect. She was still very much New Age. She was still doing the angel courses initially, but she dropped the fairies and the Pixies and all that bullshit, and yeah, basically they were confused. Just as before that, the people who were just simply pure New Age, they were confused. People afterwards who are Christians are like, has she really changed? Is she really a Christian? And this has continued where certain Christians have liked her, then hated on her or disagreed with her in some ways because she has changed her view. She has flip-flopped so many times. And so fans are really confused of her, and many of those people who were fans are no longer fans, but she is rebuilding her fan base as a kind of quasi-Christian influencer, you might say. Although she has become more conformist and more restrained, and is no longer describable as being a spiritual New Ager. The fundamental thing to recognise with Doreen Virtue now is that she is making sales for Jesus. And by Jesus, I mean for her bank account. So yeah, she's acting as many people do in Christianity, New Age and other beliefs. They shift products. They sell things, they sell books, they sell their ideas, and people who are interested will buy, will invest in those things. Does that make her evil? No. Does that make her the devil? No. Does it make her anything bad? That's debatable. But what it does prove is that she requires to make money off this, despite making considerable money over the years, mostly from New Agers, not giving it all away, and basically she doesn't need to do this anymore. But I suppose having self-help based Christian views, which are in some ways already becoming far more profitable than some of her New Age work, well, I suppose it all has its benefits. Just to remember that the money isn't going towards spreading the gospel if you belong to her sect or any other sect. It's going towards her and her luxurious lifestyle. Yes, she did take a huge dip about a couple of years ago, about 3 or 4 years ago, when she actually changed her religious views. Her New Age audience, her staple of her career, those people who are the main fans and customers of her work, she parted ways and explained her view on her YouTube channel quite completely at the time, although that flip-flopped, there's changes with information over time, over the last few years. But even so, she is still basically practicing the same sort of method of making money. She took a drop, and now she's making the money back and selling to a far, far larger audience than the New Age movement, or part of it, and selling to a great many Christians, those who belong to the same sect as her and the same sort of sects as what she believes in. And how fundamentalist or how moderate she actually is somewhat debated, because sometimes she plays on a moderate and informed Christian view. Other times she claims to be a very much fundamentalist and literalist in certain ways. So it's debatable whether or not she takes her work truly seriously, or if she takes it seriously but also recognises she needs to make potentially hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars every year from the people who buy her books for probably no good reason. So yeah, the money is still going towards Doreen Virtue, and I think people should wise up and probably consider spending their money on other things and perhaps, not buying her books.